Coming up on Green Peas TV, Chef Marcus Giuliano of Aroma Time Bistro serves brunch. A delicious cornmeal polenta frittata using local vegetables, cheese, and cornmeal and produced here in the Hudson Valley. He does this with a little help from New York State Bridge Authority Executive Director Joseph Rugiero. We're in the Hudson Valley.
And this is Green Peas TV. When I became a director of the Bridge Authority, I had no idea that my job would involve more than just tolls and highways. I'm joined here with Joseph Bertolozi, our composer of bridge music here on the Mid Hudson Bridge. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You have a long working relationship with the Bridge Authority and using our bridge as one of the largest musical instruments in the planet, probably.
You know, I got the idea to play the bridge just from the idea that everything vibrates. And I thought it would just be cool to see, you know, could you write a piece of music with these different sounds?
What was the inspiration for the different songs?
At first I was just writing the music that was suggested to me by the sounds. The bridge dictated what sounds were available. As the piece progressed, then I just came up with other ideas to make a whole unit.
All the sounds on bridge music are the direct samples recorded from the bridge's surfaces, without any boosting of treble or bass, equalization, compression, or any other studio techniques. We mostly used contact microphones, which pick up sound from the surface it's attached to, rather than from the airwaves like a standard acoustic mic.
About a year ago, you launched the public kiosk here for folks to come out and do bridge music themselves.
Right, you can just press the buttons right behind me, and there are speakers up there, and you can hear the music on demand.
Well, thank you.
Did you know that on August 25th, 1930, at 5:30 p.m., Eleanor Roosevelt, married to the then governor of New York, Franklin Roosevelt, cut the ribbon in the opening ceremony on the west side of the bridge? To learn more about the bridges of the Hudson Valley, visit the New York State Bridge Authority's website at www.nysba.state.ny.us.
So this is a very easy dish to make, because it consists of cornmeal polenta and lots of local vegetables. And the local vegetables that I got from a great farm, Rusty Plow, which is located near me in Ellenville. So the premise of this is sort of like a breakfast frittata, and it's eggless, which is going to be vegetarian or vegan friendly specifically.
Okay.
And it's loaded with vegetables, loaded with cornmeal. You can make this any time of the year because you can use the vegetables that are in season. So in the wintertime you won't have squash, you won't have green beans, but you'll have more root vegetables. You can even add apples and pears and things like that to it. Make it really interesting. So we're just going to roast these vegetables. So we're just going to toss them with a little bit of oil and roast them off in an oven. Now these are nice baby beets. These are yellow squash that we just cut in circles. I'm going to save the yellow tomatoes. These were just picked. I'm going to save those to put on the end.
Okay.
But they look great up there. Some green beans, some radishes. Now I like to roast the vegetables whole.
Okay.
We can always cut them up afterwards. That's what we're going to do. Some nice onions. Okay. And we're going to basically toss this with just a little bit of oil. It just needs the smallest amount of oil.
What kind of oil is it?
This is a safflower, an expeller pressed safflower oil. I like to cook with mild oils that are very high heat resistance.
Okay.
So we're going to use olive oil because I love olive oil, but that's going to go in at the end of the dish.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of heating olive oil because it's so delicate and so fragile. We're going to compromise the health qualities or the health properties of the olive oil. So we're just going to toss them around right in the oil, get them coated. If you're going to roast them all together, make sure you have sort of the same size cut. So we're just going to take these onions here and cut them right in half, just so they're going to roast a little more evenly with the other vegetables.
So you want all your vegetables cut at the same size?
As close to the same size as possible. I don't like the recipes that get really complicated and give measurements, dice at this size, dice at that size, because then it discourages people. This is about good ingredients, good preparations, lots of flavors, and enjoying the food.
Sure.
So now you can put these right into the oven and roast. Now the roasting times are going to vary because of how hard the vegetables are. You're just going to have to keep looking at them and maybe touch them and see the tenderness of them.
Okay.
And you might like your green beans and your squash roasted soft, that you're going to like that, or you might like to keep them hard al dente. So it's totally up to you. It's your discretion of what you like with this.
Okay.
So we're going to put these right into the oven. So now our vegetables are done roasting.
Okay.
All right, so now we can leave them aside, or you can take this step and actually marinate them in a little bit of olive oil if you'd like, and some fresh herbs. Just gonna put these aside. Now we're gonna work with the polenta. So this is basically cornmeal here. This comes from Wild Hive Farms. It's a local farm. I love their cornmeal. It's organic, stone ground, really great stuff. So the way you make cornmeal is, or polenta, is you take some boiling water or some boiling stock, 4 parts water to 1 part of the cornmeal. Bring it to a boil, turn it low, and then sprinkle this in and whisk it in, and just let it cook. It's gonna take about 45 minutes to cook. Now this, we just put it into a plastic cylindrical shape and refrigerated them like that. So then we just go and cut them, and now we have actual cakes. Now this can go on the grill if you'd like to and make a grilled polenta cake, or you can put it back in a pan and sear it. But since this is breakfast, we're gonna mash it up. I'm gonna have you mash it up with the fork.
Okay.
And this is gonna mimic sort of what scrambled eggs would look like.
Now, is polenta something someone with a gluten allergy could have?
Absolutely. A gluten allergy comes from the actual protein in grains.
Okay.
So corn is not classified as a grain. Corn is not going to have any gluten in it. Things like wheat, spelt, farro, barley, those things are going to have gluten in them. All right, perfect. So what we want to do is we want to take some of the vegetables. This is that beautiful daikon radish. Here's those onions.
Okay.
And we're just going to take these. You're going to just cut those up and put them right on top here, and I'm going to work them in. Now keep in mind, you can make this as big as you want. If you want to, this is an individual portion, but if you're feeding a family of 6 or something, you can make plenty. This will actually last a day or so, 2 days. So don't be afraid if you want to make extras and have some leftovers. So I think that's probably enough. And of course I snuck some roasted garlic in here because you can't have a dish like this without roasted garlic.
Got 2 Italians cooking, you have to
Right, exactly. Now I have some cheese on the table. It's local cheese. It's from Sprout Creek. It's a raw cheese. It's a raw cow's milk cheese. It's unpasteurized, unhomogenized. This one's aged for 60 days. This is their Barra. So it's a hard cheese. You can grate it very easily. We're going to grate a little bit of cheese on this as soon as it comes out of the oven. I guess for our sake, we can do a little bit now and a little later.
That's great.
So there we go.
Excellent.
An eggless frittata. So now we're going to bake this portion right here at 325 degrees. This is probably going to take about 10-15 minutes to do something like this.
Now, do you cook this with a cover or not a cover?
I'm not going to cook it with a cover because I want to induce a little browning. Okay. Because I think the cheese and the polenta, to get a little crispy and a little brown, is going to really do this good.
That sounds great.
If I didn't want it that way, then I'd put a little cover on it. Great. So that's how that works.
Don Lewis has a mission. He's building a sustainable community.
We usually use this for pastry.
Wild Hive Farm produces organic flours, cornmeal, oats, and polenta at their milling operation. They purchase organic grains from a farm up the road.
This is our all-purpose flour, which is a coarse, soft wheat flour, ideal for building pastry.
We visit with Don and the chef at the site of what will be the new Wild Hive Community Grain Project, which will house the Wild Hive Farm milling operation in the fall of 2010.
When we mill corn, which is this is an old variety dent corn that we're milling, and we break it out into 4 different types of grades, and polenta being our most coarse. And with that, the bigger the pieces, the bigger the burst of flavor. This is actually a heritage buckwheat that's been grown in New York State for 100 years that I know of.
Corn and grains in this country have been genetically altered by the seed corporations. Wild Hive is reintroducing back into the food system heritage grains that existed 100 years ago before this took place. By doing this, and by milling flour and polenta very quickly after the corn and wheats are harvested, he believes they will reduce people's intolerances to corn and wheat and gluten.
You look at bananas, you look at dates, you look at all these foods that they just don't represent what they did 100 years ago. Right. And our body has problems understanding what these foods actually are. And I'm sure the same case is with wheat.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
Don also believes that many intolerances people have to wheat and gluten are created by wheat that is old and has turned rancid.
And to corn, and that is, it's very true. The way the system is built in this country, they hold the grains too long.
They mill them, they hold the flour too long. Really, flour really only lives for about 2 months, and then it's expired. And that's one of the...
Polenta has been a staple food of northern Italy and much of Europe since ancient times. Once considered peasant food, polenta fell out of favor here in the U.S. for 100 or more years. Today, like many foods from the past, polenta has been rediscovered because of its versatility and nutritional value. For more information about wild hives, polenta, grains, and other flours, visit them on the website.
Look at that. There
That's
we
great.
go. Nice and roasted.
Smells great.
But we're not done yet.
Okay.
A couple small steps are going to make a world of difference on here. I also got some arugula today from this farm.
Sure.
And some incredible organic arugula. Now, it has holes in it. It's not Swiss arugula.
Okay.
It just means that it's organic arugula, and that other things found it inviting too. So that's sort of my guideline on good quality, high quality organic. If the wild things want it, then you know.
If it's good enough for them to eat, it's good enough for us.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Just want to make sure.
So I'm just going to toss that, and let's toss some tomatoes in here.
Okay.
So we'll take these tomatoes, we'll cut them right in half.
Now, what kind of tomatoes are these?
These are yellow sun gold, super sweet. You know, I'm a big fan of scallions too, so why don't we just put a few pieces of scallions in there as well.
Get a nice toss.
And that's it. There you go. That is a vegetarian frittata, eggless frittata. Now, of course, if you like cheese, you can do with the cheese again right on top.
This is a real Hudson Valley dish from the ground
This is
up.
a real Hudson Valley dish. Everything was grown local here in the Hudson Valley. And
Later during brunch, Paul Maloney of the Stockade Tavern created old-time cocktails from recipes that were around from the Jazz Age. We also paid a visit to Tuttletown Spirits, New York's first whiskey distillery opened after the Prohibition, to see how their rye and bourbon is created. To see these cocktail recipes, go to the Greenpeas TV cocktail page on our website. Interested in more information about the locations you've seen? Visit the Dutchess County Tourism website at www.dutchesstourism.com.